The reason why less than 3% of business owners ever get past $1 million or $5 million or even close to $5 million is because they won't implement what they hear. They won't implement what they're taught. They don't put it into practice. It's one thing to go out and amass all the information and data. And if you're listening to the podcast, hear me and hear me clearly. If you don't do anything, if you don't take action against the things that you learn and you hear, then you won't change. And if you don't change, your business won't change. Drop the microphone. We could end the podcast right here and right now.
Welcome to Good Soil Strategies, the podcast where landscaping, hardscaping, and outdoor service contractors learn what actually works in marketing, operations, and scaling. I'm Matt Penchuk with Search Strategy Marketing and Hardscaping HQ, and my co-host is Anthony Hill from Anthony's Lawn Care and Landscape in Bloomington, Indiana. Today we're sitting down with Bryan Miller. He runs Outback Deck, hitting $15 million annually, and he's the founder of DeckMetrix, a pricing tool built specifically for deck builders, along with Contractor Classroom and a community where builders learn from the experts. What makes this conversation valuable is that Bryan isn't just theorizing. He's in the trenches, building a successful deck company and creating the tools to solve the exact problems you face every day. We're digging into his one-call sales approach, the operational realities of scaling past 5 million, and how to build trust with homeowners. Let's get into it.
We were yipping and yapping about what success in the industry looks like. So I think you arrive sometimes at your own perception, but we've had this perception for a number of years that as a deck builder, we want to be your number one contractor. Whatever you say that is, define for me so that I can step into that, because that's who we are. So this year they did not give out the award for like the number one contractor in the country. They did it by region because they didn't want to hurt people's feelings. And I said, well, I don't care about hurting somebody's feelings. I want to know. Like, this has been on our bucket list, right? And then, so they were like, as of December 31st, you guys were the number one TimberTech ASAC contractor in North America by like a couple $100,000 of purchases, which if your average purchase is $7,000, that's not a small thing, right? So that was a big deal. And then they said, so what's next for you? We said, never let it go. Like, what do you mean? What's next? Like, we're number one. What's next is Tom Brady. Like, I got 10 fingers. Can I win it 10 years in a row? Right? Like, and never let it go. So, but really it's not about what that does is it just stamps an approval for my team. So it says to the team, you guys are doing all the right things. And as one of the largest manufacturers on the planet of this kind of product, being their number one contractor is a big deal. We did not do that. We did that. Right? So leadership 101 is influence is most important. I influence that a little bit with the relationship and the other things, but my team has more influence on that than I do. If you don't sell jobs, you don't sell product, right? If you don't help customers, they don't refer you. If you don't help each other, you can't build the business. So anyway,
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
For context, you're running Outback Deck and then DeckMetrix as well. So you started building up how did you end up building the software for that company? Was it a solution that you were trying to solve, or was there something you were trying to solve in your business with DeckMetrix?
Yeah. So when I was a solopreneur back in 2008, 9, 10, when the economy crashed, and then the market started to turn a little bit and rates dropped, people started to spend money. And I mean, you can only spread yourself so thin as a solopreneur. So, I was working 100 hours a week, missing soccer games with my kids, missing date nights with my wife, not taking any vacations because I was trying to run a business. And I thought I was making money. But my biggest problem was, I would do some Google advertisement, and in a span of like an hour, my phone would ring like off the hook because everybody had money to spend. So I would I would do radio, and the ad would run in the morning. My phone would ring 37 times. I I mean, what are you gonna do when you're the only guy and you have to answer the phone 37 times while you're trying to run your day and schedule appointments? And by the way, half of those appointments weren't worth a darn because they wanted to replace a deck board or have me do some coding or stuff that that just didn't match. So I number one thing I needed was a way to see more customers and give them a price for what we could do while we were there. And back then, the kind of software that we have today didn't really exist. So, I
I've
found
been
a fr
in the same situation. I mean, I was
yeah,
writing my estimates with pen and paper, Brian.
right, right.
Yeah, and
And and
answering the
and
calls and
and I'm
doing the
way
work.
older than you, so I was
Yeah.
writing mine with pencil and paper.
Okay, okay. Yep.
So, it was just like it is what it is. Like I built a spreadsheet and it was really good. And then I hired a friend of mine. I had done some work for him and he was an Excel genius. So he helped me dissect the algorithms of the International Residential Code and build these ridiculously long, you know, Excel. They were like, I don't even know how to say it. They were like macros on steroids. It just was like one thing after another to make it all work. And that was great. And then it would give me an opportunity to do like a little one pager in Excel. So I would click the X's and mark what it was, and I would
Hmm.
type the customer's name in. The only thing I couldn't do was sign the contract with the homeowner. I had to print it. So I carried a portable printer in the truck. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I would run out to the truck when I was done meeting the homeowner. I'd leave him like with my flip book that had the pictures in it. I'd run out to the truck. I'd bang the thing out on the spreadsheet in like 5 minutes. It would take longer to print the thing in color than it would to bang out the estimate. I'd sit there and wait for the printer to be like, and spit it out. And then I would go back in the house and I would sell the deal and they would sign their version and they would sign my version and away we would go. And so it was this great tool until we hired our first sales guy. And then he knew how to use Excel, so he went in and started breaking things, and I had to fix it. And then he'd break it again, I'd have to fix it. So then I put it on lockdown. Well, then he would still break it, and I'd have to fix it. And then after doing that for a while, all of a sudden we had 4, 5, 6 sales guys. Like you just can't you can't manage you cannot manage that much volume of estimating without some kind of systemic way to handle updates and other things. And it just got to the point where, we were locking it down for a week and then we would have to have everybody upload a new version and then it would lock down at the end of the week. And it wasn't fast enough for us to be able to solve the problem. So
Well, and let me ask you, these sales guys you would hire, were they skilled enough to build out these estimates?
So beautiful, wonderful leading question, right? Because what we did in Outback when we first started, the first sales guy I trained took me 6 months to train him. 6 months. He had to ride
Yep.
with me. He had to friggin' learn everything that I knew. I had to teach him deck from the ground up, like get him into the code and like teach him. And they couldn't do it. Like there was no fast way. And today we teach deck and sales training in 3 days. Right. So we went from 6 months down to like we teach deck in a day and a half. It used to take 3 weeks, but we've just figured it out over time. Some of that is the software helps. Softwares out there can help, but more it's just we now know what to do and how to train people. And so oftentimes I'll tell the team what really got us to where we are today wasn't that we were great at technology. It wasn't that we were really great at selling or that we were really great at, or even that we were a great sales or marketing organization. All those are the steps that we go through. But to be where we are today and to scale the business, you only need to become one thing, and that's an exceptional training organization. You must be able to attract talent. So who you are as an organization, culture of your business, and the way that you run the business and the conversations that you have with people who come to work with you, not for you, but with you. When you start to have those conversations, you begin to realize people can't do what you can do unless you teach them and train them how to do what you do. And so you need simple, repeatable processes and systems to scale a company. You do not need complexity. Deck is complicated. It's very complicated. The code, I'm sitting in my office, it's, I don't know, 20 by 20, and the building is as big as it be. You could fill this building with code books, and you still wouldn't have all the code books. So it's really, really complex to do construction. You have to figure out ways to simplify it. What DeckMetrix does is it simplifies it so that a guy doesn't need to know every jot and tittle of the code. He simply needs to understand, how do we build a deck at Outback? What makes us different? Different is today's better. What makes us different than everybody else? And how do we position that so that he can very simply and easily have a great discovery conversation with a homeowner, dig in, find out what they really need, what is ailing them, what do we need to solve, and how would they like us to do that? And then what price point do we need to be at to help them say yes? And that price point is a monthly payment. It's not a big, huge, fat $20, $30, $40, $50,000 job. It's a $200, $300, $400 job. And then you give them a system to do it. And now you can replicate that. If it's simple and repeatable and trainable, then it can be scaled. If it's not those things, it can't. And so to get where we are now, the history is, when John and I pushed the business together, we were at $1.8 million 15 years ago. Took us a minute to get to 2.2 and 3.3. But from, $4.5 million to 13.6 that we did today, this past year, that took us 5 years. So it took us the first 10 to get there. And then it took the last 5 because then we had management and people, the right people in the right seats, to use the EOS language from Gino Wickman's book, Traction. Right people, right seat, right? If you have the right people in the right seats and they're well trained and you keep it simple, they can do it. And then if they own that seat, they do it well. Then you don't have to own that seat anymore. Now you can scale that area of the business because you don't have to be the one carrying the load. I
Yeah.
can help and lead, but I can't scale it if I have to wear all the hats, right? I got a problem. So that's why I don't wear a hat anymore when I do interviews, because I don't wear a hat in Outback. I'm a stakeholder. I carry my wallet, right? That's what I bring to meetings.
Hey,
My
the
wallet.
president wears a hat.
The president can wear whatever he wants to wear, right? He can be whoever he wants to be, but the guy who no longer has a title in the business is the guy I want to be, right? So
Yeah, there's so much truth to that too, Brian, because what's it called? I was watching something with Alex Hormozy talk about that, about how
yeah,
you're way less likely to be able to sell your company if you're the bottleneck. And they call it what, key man syndrome?
key man syndrome.
Yeah, all these investors are looking at that. And, I've been working closely with Perry Marshall for the last few years, and we've been doing the same thing. It's I feel like I'm a version of your company from several, maybe 5 to 8 years ago, where I'm at that similar, like we're getting closer to 5 million and going through the same thing. It used to take me 6 months to a year to train a sales professional. Now it's probably about a month. I mean, I don't
Yep.
have it down to 3 days yet, but that's way less than 6 months or a year.
I mean, if you want a guy to
Yeah,
really know how to sell, it's going to take him 6 weeks or 8 weeks, because you can't teach him everything in a classroom. He needs to go hear no. He thinks he's going to go hear yes all the time when you teach him, but it's just not true. If he hears yes 2, 3 times out of 10,
that's phenomenal.
depending depending on your average ticket, right? So I mean, that's phenomenal, right? So, well, here's the difference, Anthony. Well, how old are you now? 30 something?
Yeah, 38.
So, I'm about to turn 60 in April this year. And I think if I had in my 30s, if I had had the influencers in my life that you now have in yours, if those people had been around me, or if I had been smart enough to go and find some guys to help me, I probably would have been a lot further along than I am. So that the benefit that you have is now with technology and the way that things are, I think about Audible and I think about podcasting and all the things that I didn't have when I was much younger. If you wanted a mentor, you needed to be lucky enough to walk across somebody's path and figure it out back then. Today you can go out online and find one and pay for that. But I didn't have that luxury when I was younger. Not to suggest that it wasn't my own issues and my own fault. I should have probably tried to figure it out sooner than I did, right? But today we have so much access. There's so much ability to go out and learn, read good books, listen to podcasts, get get tips and pointers that you can put into practice in the business. You know what though? Here's the drill. The reason why the numbers are what they are, the reason why less than 3% of business owners ever get past $1 million or $5 million or even close to $5 million is because they won't implement what they hear. They won't
Yes.
implement what they're taught. They don't put it into practice. It's one thing to go out and amass all the information and data. And if you're listening to the podcast, hear me and hear me clearly. If you don't do anything, if you don't take action against the things that you learn and you hear, then you won't change. And if you don't change, your business won't change. Drop the microphone. We could end the podcast right here and right now. It is the number one issue with business owners. Most business owners, squirrel, right? They get super confused. They get overwhelmed. They start looking at all the shiny objects and they don't stay focused. Friend of mine, Charlie Gindell, Charlie's one of my mentors. Charlie's probably helped me more than anybody in business. Charlie's retired now. Charlie ran a couple of different businesses, was a metal roofing guy for a lot of years, and then got into windows. He ran Dial One Window in Southern California, and then he bought an RBA. And he scaled his RBA to about $65 million and then sold it back to RBA. But Charlie is this guy. He said, Bryan, the only word you need to know in business is focus, but it's an acronym. Follow one course until successful. That's the deal. We all need as entrepreneurs to learn how to focus, follow one course until successful. Jim Collins' hedgehog concept, right? If you haven't read Jim Collins' Good to Great, you should read it. It's an incredibly thick and long, arduous book, but it's worth a read. And he talks about a hedgehog concept. What's the one thing that you do better than everybody else that you can make the most money at? Stop doing everything else and just do that. That's how we ended up as Outback Deck. That's how we ended up as focused on squares and rectangles and building simple decks that are really beautiful and are going to last a long time. Because we can build that project in under a week and we can charge the requisite amount of money for that to make the kind of profit that we want to make and scale the business. It's very scalable. So, what are you doing in your business that you can do repeatedly over and over and over that your team can do because it's simple enough they can do it and that they can scale it? And then it makes you the most amount of profit that you possibly can make of anything you do. Right? I'm here on the call because if you're talking to landscapers, you're keeping it relatively simple. But plants die and grass dies and other things like that, and you got to fight it. Could you add ground level deck to your business at $10 or $15 or $20,000 and build it in 2 days or 3 days? I bet you can. And I can guarantee you that the margin on that is way higher than it is on plants and shrubs.
Yes. Yeah. I know kind of the reversal of what you're saying because I have a mentor. He used to work with Nightingale Conant. Uh, awesome guy. And he saw that we were starting other little ventures, ancillary type companies. And our our phone calls every single week would be, don't just get distracted by that new thing. You need to have someone else manage that and systemize it or systematize, whichever one you go with there. And if you start another ancillary business, you shouldn't be spending more than 30 minutes a week on that. Have other people manage that, form business partnerships, and And I do know a lot of guys that they'll only mow lawns and install mulch. Well, and then I know other guys that like us that do hardscaping and retaining walls and tree service. And those are always the ones that are doing multiple millions just mowing lawns and doing some mulch. That still does have like a market saturation point in any given market. But if you add installing decks, which we're in the process of doing, and we've we're hiring you guys to bring your software to us as well because I love what you're doing. I created a custom GPT that's nowhere close to what you have, but we do use that for training because
Sure.
we plugged all the information into a
Right.
custom GPT with all of our pricing, all of our word tracks, very similar concept, but DeckMetrix blows that out of the water. And yeah, we're looking forward to doing that and adding deck installation to our book of business over the course of 15 or 20 years. That's going to result in who knows 10 million
Tens of
extra,
millions,
tens
tens
of
of
millions
millions, tens
just
of
from
millions.
adding that. I mean, we already have the trucks and the trailers and the personnel to do it.
Right.
So why
Now I
wouldn't?
just need to learn the
Yeah,
skill,
yeah.
make sure that you keep it simple enough, find some guys who can sell that, and then go help the customer. You're talking what
We
you're
have guys
talking
on
about,
staff that already know how to do it too.
right? And what you're
Yeah.
talking about is not you're not talking about how do we get the next job built. What you're talking about is how do we design a system that lets hundreds of crews build what's been sold profitably so that I, the owner, don't have to be in every single decision. That's exactly what you're talking about. It's the
Yes.
fundamental change or mindset shift we need to make is from product thinking, like this approach that everything is about the product that we deliver, to contractor centric focus on serving the homeowner. So adding deck is not about can we get another job. Adding deck is about how do I take the consumer that I already own and keep them in my stable. I cut grass and do mulch if I'm doing that, because that keeps me always in front of the customer. So when they need new shrubs and trees, I'm there. Or when they need their trees taken care of, I'm there. Or when a tree falls on their house, I'm there. Or when they decide they want to put a patio in, I'm there. I'm the one who owns the relationship. And so I don't have to go and spend $1,000 or $1,200 or somewhere between $700 and $1,100 to generate a lead to
Yes.
do that, when all I got to do is keep up with that constant outreach and touch points with my homeowners to make sure I'm getting it. Deck only is harder. You build a deck for somebody, you're going to probably do one. And if they stay living in the house, if you do it with the products we use, you might not do another one unless you got to do one on the front. So what do you do to maintain and keep it going? Maintenance agreements. Hey, we'll come and pressure wash for you every year. Hey, if we're doing any wood, we'll do the coatings for you every year. And hey, if you got a structural system that's wood, we're gonna come out and we're gonna inspect it every year. And it's $50 for us to come out and inspect. But when you have thousands of customers, $50. And what are you doing? You're just trying to stay in front of that homeowner and keep the relationship tight, right? That's what you're
That's
trying to do.
genius. I love
That's
that
it.
you built a recurring revenue model in the debt. I bet you're one of the only debt companies that really does that. What do you think?
I mean, I think that there are guys out there that if they sell a lot of wood, then they are in a recurring revenue model.
Yeah,
But that recurring revenue model is they're paying the homeowner to come and do the work because they didn't give them the right warranty, not the other way
exactly.
around, right? So my recurring revenue model is, look, any deck that we build, there's something there that we can monetize long term,
Mm.
even if it's a small amount, right? No one's paying tens of thousands of dollars a month for software to a in the deck industry. Like, no one's doing that, right? So if I'm getting $200 a month or $300 a month or $400 a month, I'm looking for that monthly recurring revenue. Is there something I can do for my homeowner where on an annual basis, a quarterly basis, or a monthly basis, I can get some kind of revenue? That's what cutting grass and putting mulch and pine straw and other stuff like that is. It's just monthly recurring. It may not be super highly profitable. It might have profitability, but it's that mixed in with the other things that you do and getting the mix in the business correct. So we talk a lot about that in Outback. We do deck and we do porch and we do hardscape and underdeck systems and pergolas. It's all outdoor living, and most of it is focused around the deck. But all of those things, they have certain profit margins attached to them. They have a certain, turn, the speed with which we can do something. Something might need permitted, something might not need permitted. So when we sell a job, we look at the mix of what are we doing when we're there and how long should that take? And then we can adjust profitability, gross margin on things that, hey, we can do this job in 2 days. Do we really need to be at a 50% profit margin? If the thing is 20 grand, do I need to charge 40 grand if I'm there for 2 days? Or should I be looking at that differently? We can begin to look across the business at the different profit centers and then pull the levers. So I might pull this lever a little bit differently than I pull this one. Hey, a $55,000 deck might take 4, 5 days, 6 days to get done. A $50,000 pergola might take 2 days to get done. Well, if I have one crew of guys that can do 3 of those a week, can I sell three $50,000 pergolas, or would I be better off selling three $32,000 pergolas and making sure that over that week, that crew is profitable at $2,000 per day, right? So I can look at, instead of looking at maybe profit margin across the entire job, so maybe I'm running a 50+% GP on a big deck, and that might be 25 grand, but I might have 5 guys on that crew, and it might take them 5 or 6 days to do that job. Okay, so I'm making 5 grand a day. I'm making $1,000 a guy. I might make $2,000 a guy on a pergola project in a day. So how do I look at that? Like, as a business owner, if all I'm doing is selling jobs and running around with like a chicken with my head cut off and going to every job site and taking care of every issue with every homeowner and trying to run marketing and I'm trying to wear all the hats, I don't have time to sit down and figure out how am I really making money
Yep.
and what's the best system that I should be using to do that. Right.
Bryan,
So,
it's amazing. I what I'd like to know. So we have a lot of people, I think, who are going to fit in this category. You're $500,000 to $1 million annually. What would you tell somebody to scale to jump into that deck building piece? What would what would they need to fix operationally or in their sales process? What does that look like?
so most guys at 500,000 to $1 million don't have a sales process. They don't have a sales system. They don't have sales training. They probably aren't running any processes. They're running, but they're not running process. That's just reality. And I can tell you, I just sat with some of the best guys in the country and taught sales process. 4 40-minute sessions on sales process. Every guy came up afterwards and clicked the QR code and was like, can you teach me more about sales process? Because I clearly don't have one. Here's what I would say to anybody wanting to get into the deck business. It doesn't matter what business you want to get into. First, you need to create for yourself a sales problem. If you don't have a sales problem, then you don't have a problem. That means you need to generate enough leads to have a problem with your sales process or your lack thereof, right? So you got to generate leads. If you want to go sell deck, you need to generate some deck leads. The best way to do that, if you are in the landscape business or in any exteriors business, hardscape, whatever, is go back to your current customer base and market to them in an inexpensive yet very calculated way. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, thank you so much for all that you do with to help our company be successful. We had a great 2025. Let me give you some updates. We did this and we did this and we won this award and we did this. And you're such a huge part of that we thought we would just ask you for one small favor. If I were to send you a $25 gift card to Starbucks, would you be willing to maybe give me a name or two of some people that you know who might need some service for their lawn? And by the way, were you aware that we've started a new division in our company and now we do decks? Wondering if you might have a need to have us come out and just take a look at your deck to make sure it's safe. We're offering a free deck inspection for anybody who books an appointment with us. Now, that's my customer. They love me, they trust me, and now they know I do it. If they're looking at doing a deck, what's the likelihood that they're not going to pick up the phone? Very small. Why? Because I just offered them something for free and I offered to buy them some coffee. Right? So I'm going to show up with their coffee order in my hand and I'm going to do a deck inspection. And I can send everybody out a deck inspection. It's a really simple process, but essentially you're just looking at the deck and walking around underneath and pointing out problems and say, hey, you have enough issues going on here. I think you were right. We probably do need to replace your deck. Would you like me to quote that for you today? Now right into DeckMetrix and right into some of the other systems and processes. But you need a sales process. So one of the things that we do at Contractor Classroom, DeckMetrix, like in our software business, is everything that we do in software has a sales element with it. So if you want to use the software, you first need to learn how to sell deck. So we offer deck training here. We have courses that you can go through online, or you can show up here and run deck training with us for 2.5 days. We offer the deck training, and then we teach you how to build a sales process and how to write your scripting and how to use DeckMetrix and the other softwares. And then we put you in Contractor Classroom for free to teach and support you in how to stand this new division up in the business. First have a marketing issue. Once you can generate leads, now you have to have a sales process. Why? Because you're probably already generating leads for other things in your business and you can't spread yourself any more thin. So now you're going to need help. Who can help? Well, if you don't have a sales process and you hire somebody, you're going to willy-nilly it and you're going to get your butt handed to you. And then it's not going to be successful. You're just going to spend a lot of money and not get results. Right? So you got to have a structured process to go through. If you already have a good structured sales system in your business, we may be able to tailor it, tweak it, and tailor it to turn it into a deck sales structure. But you still need the content and the understanding around how to build a deck, how to position deck, and how to establish yourself as an expert in deck if you want to get there, right? So all those tools are tools that we have available as part of our business. But the most important thing is learn first how to create an issue for yourself by generating the leads, then learn how to solve for yes. How do I get this customer to say yes to me on a new product line that I've established? And be sure before you do that you understand how you're going to build it and what makes you different. Because as a landscaper, you don't necessarily have a contractor's license and you might be up against contractors and other people who are much more well-versed. So what makes you different than them? If they're the big hairy gorilla, then you need to know what is their Achilles heel. What do they not do well for the customer? Where do they fall down? What are they leaving out that's really important to your homeowner? And you know your homeowner better than anybody. So how would you do that? So if you want to go from 500,000 to 600 or 700,000 and do it in deck, I mean, you might have an average ticket of $30,000 or $40,000 if you're doing synthetics. I mean, that's only 5 jobs, 6 jobs. To get from $500,000 to $1 million, that might be only 1 job a month. That's pretty slow growth. You should be able to do that in your first year. No problem. But you're going to need to spend a little money to get trained and understand how to do it so that you can go out. The last thing you want to do is try to do something with a previous customer that's a customer of yours for life and give them a black eye. Right? You don't want to do that. So, you need a proven system if you want to stand something new up in your business. You do not want, the willy-nilly idea here. You want a proven system for how to do it.
Something I do with this, Brian, is when it comes to implementing advice like you just mentioned, I'll say, okay, let's do this 5% of the time, maybe 10%. See how it's going, make the adjustments, then do the full scale. I might, okay, for example, with a deck, I'll do some deck work at my house with our clients first. We're gonna do lighting with Matthew's friend too. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do that at my house first. Then I'll talk to a couple of clients I'm really close with, and I'll say, listen, for you, we're going to do it at break even, maybe even a little below break even. We're going to make this extremely affordable for you because this is something new we're getting into and we're ironing out the processes. That way, if it doesn't go well, they're not mad. We explain it to them up front. And then when we go to do the sales process with new prospects or existing clients, then we've ironed out the process and we can, we're not just having guesswork, like you said, willy nilly.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
approach has really worked well for us over the years.
That's a great way to do it. And the good thing about doing that is you can actually build your structured process. So you say to the homeowner, "Hey, you're my customer. So I want to do you a favor, but I also need your help. So can we just practice together?
Yes.
Like
Yep.
even at the kitchen table. I want to come in and do discovery, right? So if you don't have a sales process, don't get confused. Discovery is just Q&A, right? It's Q&A. It's I'm going to ask you some questions and I want you to give me some answers. And what I'm trying to do in discovery is just to figure out, what problems do you think you have? What hurts? Right? Like a doctor does when they do diagnosis, right? He comes in, they ask you a bunch of questions before they start poking at you. Then they're going to poke at you, right? But the first they're going to ask you a lot of questions. They're trying to figure out what could be the issue. Okay, now that I understand that, okay, now let me poke at that a little bit and find out how much does that really hurt? Is that your number one pain point? Or is that just, that's a little sore, but really it's my knee. And if I touch your knee, you might scream at me and punch me, right? So I think that's a part of what we need to do when we're learning is we need to learn how to learn. So half of learning is learning. The other half of learning is unlearning. That's the deal. That's the game. So we have all these preconceived notions and biases that we bring to the table, especially as business owners. Now I'm going to start and do something new. I'm going to bring all this bias that I have over all the years of being Anthony Hill and running this great business that's almost at $5 million. And I've learned all these things. And we think I can just lay that over the deck business and it's going to be fine. And then, you know,
No, I don't even
that's
think that, by the way.
no, right. I know you don't. Sorry. I was using it. If you're listening, I was using Anthony as an example. I know better. Anthony's way smarter than that. No, but we aren't. We all of us, we all make mistakes. We when we get into these situations, we need to learn and then we need to move to the next step and the next step. So we need to unlearn some things and learn some new things. And then once we build the project and we're halfway through, we need to stop and step back and go, okay, what's working? Okay, what's not working? Right?
Yes.
Two of my favorite questions for the business, for my leaders, is look at them and go, hey guys, what's working this week? And they're like, oh, this is going really good. What's not working? Oh, this and this and this. Okay. So what I heard you say is, this is what's going really well. Great. How can we leverage those things? And then how can we cut the curve a little bit on the things that aren't working and move more quickly, right? How can we leverage our strengths and then, you know, kind of lift us up under the weaknesses, but not live in the negativity, but learn something from that, right? So every week in our business, that's happening. And so what are we doing to get better as business owners? Well, we need to ask more questions and we need to listen more. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Yeah. So, and if I want to hear somebody, I have to learn how to listen, not just be in the conversation, but actually ask some depth questions. So, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you said that you were concerned about the stair and it seems a little wonky. Have you been up underneath and looked at it to see if there might be something broken or coming apart? No, no, we haven't do that. Okay. Hey, was there anybody else here who looked at the deck? Yeah, there were 2 or 3 other guys. Did anybody go under the stair and look at it with you? No, nobody asked us to do that. Really? That's a little disconcerting. If they don't know what's wrong, how do they know how to fix it? Well, we told them we just want to rip it down. I understand. But don't you want to hear them explain to you, this is what's wrong and this is how we would fix it? Here's what we're going to do the right way to make sure that doesn't happen again. Oh, no, I didn't think about it like that. Okay, great. Hey, let's go and look at the stair. Right. And what did we just do? Without bashing our competition, we just unplugged everybody
I
and
love that.
created a whole bunch of expertise, right? It's very, very simple. You take the big 5 things around the deck that are problematic and you go and have a conversation with the homeowner about that. And then when they tell you no one else said it, you just kind of look at them like, really? I mean, this is like, football, right? This is blocking and tackling. This is like peewee stuff here, right? Like, what do you mean they didn't ask you if there was a clean out with the septic system back here? Is the deck built over the septic system? You mean they didn't ask you if you had a septic? I mean, the whole neighborhood's on septic. I assume you are, right? Like just little things I think we can learn, right? So I think the scaling part of the conversation is really about not being the busy contractor, um, but being a company that is more of a platform for growth, right? So if hurry and scurry don't get us anywhere, systems and processes get us everywhere.
I completely agree.
All right, Matthew,
I
you're
have,
leading.
well, I love this letting you go here because I think that you're hitting on so many points. So you're talking about a trust factor that you're building into your sales process with the Q&A or the discovery call, and so
Yeah.
that in itself is valuable. Um, how do you continue to build that trust and connecting back to the individual contractor wearing many hats? How does he continued to create that trust, but he's running around a little crazy because he's got so many jobs now he's coming through. He's figured out how to get leads. He's figured out a little bit of his sales process. Now he's got this. He's got more projects than he knows what to do with. And now, how do we maintain that trust after the sales process into the delivery of the work?
Yeah. So let's rewind and let's just make sure that we make a distinction here. The only choice that the homeowner needs to make that matters is to choose the right contractor. It's not about price. Everybody thinks it's about the price because everybody's used to trying to be the cheapest guy or get what they need to or figure out what the homeowner wants to pay. And but actually I at Futurescape I said this from the stage. Trust is built in our presence. So if we are running around everywhere and we are not present with people and we are not there to listen and understand what the problems are and put together good solutions as the contractor, our job is to make sure that the homeowner looks at us and says, I believe that Brian or Matthew or Anthony is the best choice for the person that I want to pick to do this job. If I'm not present, if I email the quotes, I'm not there having the conversation. When it comes to big ticket items, and I mean anything over 10 grand, 5 grand, depending on where you're located, it could be $2,500 is a big ticket item. Some people, anything at that level, you need to be present and having the conversation because you're probably going to get several objections because that's how people are trained. It's bias. Well, my parents always told me I need to get 3 quotes. Or Dave Ramsey says, always get 3 quotes, right? I mean, that's okay. But why are you asking me for that? And by the way, if I'm pricing good, better, best, I just gave you 3 quotes. So there's that, right? But more importantly, like what are we doing to establish that we're the right choice? So trust is built in presence. That's why we need to show up. And when we approach the home, we need to approach it correctly. You push the Ring doorbell, because almost everybody has one, and step back. And then I tell my guys, do this in the car. Don't do this in front of the home. Right? Like, do I have dog breath and do I stink and am I covered in mud? Because I'm here for a sales presentation. And first impressions mean everything when you're in a sales presentation. So if you show up with dog breath, you're not getting that job. You're just not. That's why we stand 5 feet back. Because even if I think my breath is great, I don't want the homeowner going, oh my God, what was that? Right? I think we need to have this idea that everything we do from the minute we pull up in front of the home, do not park in the driveway, ever. Don't do that. Park in the street. Do not let your wheels be up on the curb or in their grass. And if you're dripping oil, bring a cardboard box that you can throw up underneath, because that's the best way to get oil soaked up, and then throw it in the back of the truck, right? I mean, you need to be thinking about all those things. So building trust is about, what do we do as we walk through the time with the homeowner? That is why sales process is so critical. Most people, they need structure to make a significant decision. Like, more than 85% of the population has a personality that they need information and structure in order to make choices. When you're talking about a big expense, you need them both there, buying parties, husband, wife, or significant other, or whoever it is. You need them both there, because you need to hear them talking about it, and you need to understand how they communicate so that you make sure you're not leaving somebody out. That's how you create trust. If you don't do that face to face, and if you don't do that sitting at the kitchen table, which, by the way, is inside the sanctuary, inside the home is the sanctuary. If all you are doing is walking around the outside of the house, you have not breached the sanctuary. You have not created any intimacy with that homeowner. Trust comes with presence. Intimacy is presence. That's the deal. You need to be inside the house so that you can determine, hey, is this homeowner going to feel comfortable and confident with me? And do I feel comfortable and confident helping them? Is this my customer or is this not my customer? If you're listening to the podcast, I'm going to ask you to do this. Raise your hand if every customer is your customer. If you raised your hand, you're wrong. I'm just telling you, because not everybody is a good fit for you as a contractor. You need to know who your perfect fit customer or target customer is. And then you need to be spending your time with those folks. You need to understand what that is. And that's not about price. That's about who we are as a company, who I am as a person. And do I see myself being able to work with this person and help them solve their problems? You cannot do that if you're not present. That's what trust is. That's where it's established. Now, how do we keep that going? Keep the customer on a process all the way from the first time that you touch them with marketing, all the way through warranty. You should have a structured process that runs all the way through the business, from the first touch all the way into warranty. And the homeowner should be able to look at that on paper and see, I'm at point A. Here's how I get to point B, to point C, to point D, to point, here's how I get to Z. And then beyond Z, this is what that looks like for me. And if I sell my home, is the warranty transferable? And what has Anthony done to make sure that I know that? And then I can pass that over because it has value to the next homeowner. And now I've passed the relationship on. That's what trust is. But that requires you to have a systemic level of processes in your business. It's not enough to just have marketing and sales process. Now I need the rest of those things to follow. You don't need that stuff first. You have to give yourself those problems. You have to give yourself a sales problem by getting too many leads. You have to give yourself a production problem by selling too many jobs at the right price.
Yes.
Okay? At the right price. Caveat emptor. If you don't sell it at the right price, you gave yourself a problem, all right. Not the one you wanted. Right? So this is how we get ourselves to the trust relationship starts at the front end in marketing with the reviews that we see on Google. More importantly today, with the way we pop up when people search ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or Grok or any of the other 10 or 15 AI tools that are out there, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't search on Google anymore. I search AI, because it gives me the best guy. Why? Because a guy who's blogging and putting new content up and has video content and is talking about who they are and having conversations with people and doing podcasts like this and writing books and doing other things is a guy who cares about growing his business. And a guy who cares about growing his business is a guy with whom I choose to do business. I don't want somebody who's not going to be here in a year or 2 years cutting my grass. I don't.
That's part of our presentation, by the way,
Of course it
because
is.
our marketing's everywhere and we're not fly by night at all. Our address is listed everywhere. We're right in the middle
Right.
of town. Our shop's huge.
Yeah.
Like you can't miss us. So
I mean, brick and mortar, all
yeah,
that stuff is important, but your reputation, that can go away just like that. Your building will stay there as long as a tornado doesn't run it over. But you might lose your
hey,
reputation overnight.
that almost happened last year, by the way.
I
Anyway.
know, I know. No, I know. We live in Georgia, so this is Tornado Alley as well.
Yeah.
We get so I think that's important, right, Matthew, when you talk about the trust relationship and how deep it needs to go. I mean, if
It's
you
everything.
can, it's everything.
Yes.
If you can get a customer, that doesn't mean you can keep a customer. So it's one thing to be a good salesperson, but you don't get to 13.6 or 5 million. You never get there if you don't know how to build relationships that are long lasting with people.
And
And
you'll
that
burn through the market. Yeah.
you'll burn the market. And what
Yeah.
that takes is a different mindset and mentality. So what is this first step, right? It is that I can only do so much myself. Now I need to begin to generate revenue and income at the right margin so that I have profit. Then if I have profit, now I can grow my company. Now I can go and find a project person or a salesperson. Depends. Pick. I'm a sales and marketing guy by nature. I'm pretty good at operations and I know how to build a deck and all that, but John's better. And John's better at finance than I am. So I was the sales and marketing part of the business and I pulled a partner in and he became operations and finance. And I went and sold stuff initially. He did some selling, but I sold a lot more. And then he ran jobs. I ran a few, but he ran jobs. And then when we started to grow the business, we realized, man, it's probably for us, let's get our first sales guy and see how that goes. But we had an operations guy first. We had a project manager first. Why? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth is not conducive to I need to schedule appointments with homeowners when they can be around so I can give a price to both buying parties. So we just made the decision. Let's remove the operational side of things for ourselves so we can do more selling. Why? Because if I have a lot more sales, now I have an operations problem. Okay. So pick the way that you need to go, but that's the way to go. Now you have cash. Now you have capital, real capital, not checkbook management capital. Not, oh, there's 90 grand in the bank. I'm good. Yeah, but when the invoices come from this month and you got to put 50 into that and you got to run your payroll and you pay your truck payment and everything else, and then you pay yourself, what's left? $1.360? Like that's not profit. It's not the way it works. You need to have a system for that. So do you job cost every job? Operational efficiency is around, do I know what I'm going to make on this project before I start it?
Yes.
So we have what we call a job log, simple tool, right? Here's what the sales guy sold it at: labor, materials, overhead, right? Logistics cost stuff, right? That's in DeckMetrix now, but it didn't used to be. It was a spreadsheet. And then here's what the project manager said. He looked at the takeoff and he looked at the sketch and he looked at it and went, yeah, okay, everything's good. No, he's got a little less than I have, but I'm good because I got it covered here. Okay, we're supposed to be at 50% GP. We're at 49.8% GP. Okay, we're good. Now we're going to the field. Okay, now the invoices start coming in and he starts ordering materials. Is he keeping up with that? Okay, this is what I thought it was going to come in at. Here's my actuals that I'm tracking. Are we staying on target or are we off target? Are we on track? Or are we off track? More EOS terms, right? Now, the job is completed. We've been paid in full. Now it's in accounting and they do the final reconciliation. So it's 4 steps: sales, production pre, production during, accounting after. We take all those jobs and we shove them into TQM, total quality management, and the entire organization gets in the conference room once a month and they review 10, 15, 20, 30 jobs that we finished from a month or two ago, and they do autopsies. What went well? What didn't? What worked? What didn't? What do we need to do to improve? How do we change the operational efficiency? Do we need something different in production? Do we need something different in sales? Do we need something different in ordering? How are we managing the relationship with the vendors? All of these things become part of the trust relationship, because if we don't price the job right and we lose our shirt, we can't serve people well. Let me say that again. If we don't have profit, we cannot serve people. Simple. It's very simple, guys. You cannot run a business with no money. It's not a business. You have a job. It might be glorified, but you have a job. And by the way, it doesn't pay very well. No, you have to have profit in the business. And companies that grow, they grow because they have a culture of profitability stitched into the fabric of the organization from the top down and left to right. Everyone knows how we make money in Outback Deck. There is not a single person in the building who does not know the numbers, because we teach it every month. We run open book management. We've taught our team, this is how you make money. This is what has to happen on a job. We don't keep that from anybody. No one in the organization can't see it. Now, you might not be in the books. God forbid I put you in QuickBooks if you're not good with that. But everybody knows how we make money, and everybody has a number. Every single person in this organization has a number every month that they have to hit. For some guys, that's a revenue target. For some guys, that's profit. For some guys, that's a number of closed jobs. For some people, it's how many things did I get done in QuickBooks this month? It's how many leads do I need to generate? How many sales qualified leads do I need to generate? How many need to come from this or that? If everybody in the business has a number, and those numbers matter, key performance indicator, KPI, or better known as metrics. If the numbers matter and everybody knows what their number is and knows how to make sure that they can get that number where it needs to be, the business moves forward, and it moves forward profitably, because it's all interconnected. All of it.
Oh my gosh, you're speaking my language. This is exactly what we do, to a T.
Of course it is,
Like,
because
to a T.
you're in the top 1%.
Yeah,
At almost 5 million. I mean, you're of course you know those things. Of course,
every job.
hey, and listen, guys, guys and gals who are listening, please do not listen and think, I can't do that.
It can be done.
I promise you, Anthony didn't start where he is today, and I can tell you I didn't. Right? I had 3 fails businesses before I had 6 successful ones.
Yeah. No, it's
that's the deal. Like, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't grow up in a household where we got taught how to even manage a checkbook. Like, I didn't know anything about financials. I didn't know what a profit and loss was or a balance sheet. I couldn't read it. I didn't know any of that stuff. In fact, I was pretty bad at that until like 10 years ago. And even 10 years ago, I was still learning. Like today, I'm still learning. Why? Because now it's a different business. I mean, a lot more zeros now, right? And I didn't go to school for accounting, so, when you think about, when you hear us talk, just know that we've been where you are. And actually, reason why we're on the call is because we want to help you. If
Yes,
you are out there and you're listening to us, we are giving our time freely to do this stuff because somebody helped us. I mean,
absolutely.
that's what servant leadership is,
Hmm.
right? So don't think that just because we're on the podcast and we're talking about big numbers that we don't live this every day. My job in my company is to serve my team and my customers as best as I possibly can by the grace of God. Period.
Amen.
That's the deal.
Amen.
It
Yep.
it is my job. It is my passion. Why did I build DeckMetrix? Because I'm passionate about this industry raising its level. The window industry, these industries that are 30, 40 years ahead of outdoor living. Like it's insane.
It is.
We're so far behind because no one has taken this on. So we decided, why not us? Anthony decided, why not me? Matthew decided, why not me? Right? We're leading because no one else would or could. So you can do it. If you're out there, you can do it. You just need some help. Is it going to cost you something? Yes, it is. It's either going to cost you time or energy or money or change, pain. It's going to cost you if you want to get better. But since when is there gain without pain? Ever.
Yeah. It's like Jim Rohn said, for things to change for you, you have to change.
That's right. And
Yeah.
it's not easy, but it's easier with a tribe. So here we are, we're your tribe, right? Do we have products and services that we offer that we charge for? Of course we do. I mean, it's a business, right? But we do that because we know that without the right tool on your tool belt, you can't do the jobs you really need. And if the tools aren't out there, then we're going to build them and then we're going to support them. Like I think a lot of software, a lot of these kind of programs, coaching programs and other stuff, they want to get you in and then they just kind of do their thing. We're a little different. We talk about this all the time. Like we're a training organization that have products to help you. That's what we are. We're not a software company, and not per se. I am a software founder for sure, but really, for you to succeed, we need to help you learn how to do it. We need to train you up and then give you the tools to succeed and then walk alongside you until you're not like crawling around or slithering around like a snake on your belly. Like we got to get you up on your feet so you can walk on your own. Like milk only goes so far. You can't eat steak until you learn how to drink. Right? So that's what we're here for. Yeah, we do need to charge for some of those things, but a lot of stuff we don't. If you want to be in the software, you get the training at no cost, and we're just going to help you. Now, if you want really in depth, you want me to come and train you on your location, or you want to bring a whole team here, we can talk about all those things. But the reality is, if you don't know, then you need a tribe around you who does, who are experts that can help you get where you're trying to go. That's the three guys that are on the podcast right now. We're the experts. We've done it and done it successfully, and we want to help you do the same. So I'm sure the guys have more questions to ask, but I wanted you to hear that direct from the horse's mouth because I didn't come on the podcast to sell you something. I came on the podcast to help you become who you want to be as a person and also as a business owner. Our mission as an organization is to help people succeed in business and in life. That's who we are. And we don't divert from that. Our core values, they follow right in line with that. Right? And that's who we are. So that's how we walk it out.
Brian, that's fantastic. You've been an amazing guest. We're going to have you back because I feel like we're just scratching the surface here. We've talked a little bit. We do want to talk more about DeckMetrix, but we won't do it this time. We'll get into that. But I don't know if Anthony, if you have any parting words for Brian, but I'm just thrilled with all of the input that you have given us here. I think anybody who's listening is going to be encouraged and get some real value out of it.
Yeah, just thank you so much for your time, Brian. We're definitely kindred spirits.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so
It's
much.
good. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me, and we didn't get through everything we wanted to, but I love doing these. If you wanna have me on again, I'd be happy to do it. If you got specific topic you wanna try to tackle or dig deeper on something, always happy to do that. Happy to talk with you more about how we build systems and processes here and some of the things that we've done over time. And specifically, if you guys are trying to grow businesses and you need to start bringing in people, we have some really great human resource systems and processes that we've built to help attract the right talent and then get them in here, pay them appropriately, and keep them here, right? Once people get here, if you have the right people on the bus, they want to stay. But you do have to help them walk through onboarding and a few other things. And so there's good systems and processes for that too. So you got some good stuff going on here, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Thank
Perfect.
you so much.
Thanks so much, Brian.
Have a wonderful week, guys. Go
All right.
Hoosiers.
You too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Go Hoosiers.
This podcast has been brought to you by Hardscaping HQ. If you're looking for more visibility for your landscaping, hardscaping, or outdoor service company, get your free listing at hardscapingdirectory.com. Thanks for listening to the Good Soil Strategies podcast. If you want to connect with Bryan Miller, check out DeckMetrix.com, DeckMetrix.com, or OutbackDeck.net. And if you're looking to take the reins of your own landscaping business in your area, but need a proven framework to build on, reach out to Anthony at anthonyslawncare.com. He's looking for partners in expansion. We'll see you next week.